What is going on again, ladies and gentlemen? Today I'm going to be showing you guys what actually got me from 0 to 20K a month in Bangkok, Thailand. Now, as you guys know, I came out to Bangkok, Thailand with 1,500 saved up and to my name, and my goal was to make remote sales work no matter what. So, it's been very successful for me. It took a lot of hardship and hard lessons for me to learn to actually be where I am today. But today what I'm going to give you guys is basically the entire process from the beginning of the sales process to the end where the money is made. So with that being said, guys, we'll go ahead and move over to the setting side of things and start with the setter call. So let's kind of give you some context here. Basically, there's like a CRM where all the leads are held, and these leads and prospects put in their information in on this VSL, which is basically a video of an influencer telling the prospect what services he's actually offering and how he can actually help them. And then from that video, the people are putting in their names, numbers, emails, etc., and all that good stuff. And they end up in this software CRM type of thing where the setters will actually see all of these people on the software and they will be able to call them. So this prospect is being called by a setter on the setter call, and I'll kind of show you the entire process of what the setter will be doing on this setting call to actually see if they're qualified and see if they would be a good fit for what the influencer is actually selling. So first, what the setter does, he of course just dials in their number on the CRM, and what he first wants to do right when they pick up is basically introduce himself and set the frame and the tone for the call. And the reason for this is because the setter needs to be in charge of the call, or otherwise it will turn into a big disaster and the setter will just be dominated by the prospect and it just won't end up very well. So the setter needs to be the one asking the questions and leading the call and being the dominant one in the conversation, or otherwise the prospect will just spam the setter with questions and the setter won't even get what he needs to get out of the call in order to set that qualified appointment to the closer. So after the setter sets the frame, he'll be moving into the challenge point of the call, where the setter will be finding out what the prospect is actually struggling with in terms of actually in terms of learning how to learn what the influencer is actually teaching and finding out why it's hard for them to do so. And here they will be kind of taking notes for the closer, and this way the closer will have some firepower going in on the Zoom call to actually know beforehand what they're struggling with and what their challenges are. And after the setter finds the challenge in that person's life, then he will be moving over to the motivation on why they even want to better their life in the first place. So this could be because the prospect just wants to help out their family, or maybe they want to travel the world, or maybe they're just in a very bad financial situation and they're very motivated to get out of it. So that is why they're motivated to actually learning X skill and want X life. And after the setter finds the motivation, he'll be moving on to goals. So at this point in the call, he pretty much knows his challenge and his motivation for bettering his life. And now he wants to figure out what goals the prospect has in their life. Now, the reason for actually finding out the goals is to find out why they're actually doing it in the first place. What is the end goal for them in terms of actually learning X, acquiring X, and what is that desired outcome for them actually learning the skill. And then after finding out their desired outcome, he'll be moving on into the pains part of the call. So this is pretty much very similar to challenge. They're just wanting to figure out a deeper reason for why they want to get better and the pains that's causing them of not knowing that certain skill. So this is a very important part, especially for the closer, because the closer can dig very deeply here into the pain and the struggles of this prospect and pretty much use that to bridge the gap from where they are to where they need to be and where their dream life actually is. And then after they figure out the pain, they'll be moving into a very important part of the call, which is their financial situation. So in order for someone to invest in themselves, they of course need a little bit of firepower. And by firepower, I mean cash or good credit. So on this point in the call, they're basically just asking them qualifying questions like, okay, so I know you aren't making a living off of this skill right now. So are you like working a 9 to 5, or what's going on financially for you? Like, are you in a pretty good financial situation? Or are you in a tight spot? Or just asking questions like that and figuring out if they're broke or not. And let's just say they have like $10,000 or $20,000. You don't really need to figure out how much they can save or if they have any income. If they have enough saved up, you can just skip these last two. But let's just say that they have like maybe under 1,000 saved up. Then you can move on to this question and kind of see if they have a job or a 9 to 5 and see if they have any income at all. And then after you figure out this and they have under 100,000, if they have under 1,000, then you can go on to ask if they're able to save any money after they pay their bills and monthly expenses. And if they're able to at least save like $250 to $500 a month, and it really depends on the offer that you're on or how much the product costs. It really depends on these two things, if they would be qualified or not. And if they are qualified, you can go ahead and move over into the pitch of the closing call and basically just send them over to the closer. Now, usually the setters make around 5 to 7 to 9%, maybe 12% sometimes of the closed deal. So this is basically where everyone starts off in remote sales, is as a setter, and then they transition into a closer. But we'll go ahead and move over into basically the Zoom call that the closer takes in order to close a deal. So for the Zoom call, it's kind of a similar structure to the setting call, but it is a bit different and a lot deeper. So at the beginning of the Zoom call, the closer will be kind of framing the call in a way where he will also be dominant and he will be leading the call. And the reason for this is they don't want to be submissive and be led by the prospect, because of course this will just end in another big disaster, because the prospect will keep asking questions and then the closer will just be coaching them, and that's something you definitely don't want to do. So after you kind of frame the call where you're going to be leading it, you're going to want to ask a very big, deep opening question. Now this is probably the most important part of the closing call, because this opening question, if it's deep enough, will actually get the pain point immediately and the reason they're actually on the call in the first place, and then you can actually bridge the gap a lot easier. And then after you ask the opening question and get some very important information, you're going to figure out their current situation in terms of actually learning the skill that it takes to actually better their life and live their dream reality. And after you find out their current situation and their struggles, you're going to see if they've already tried to fix it with other mentorships or other courses in the past, and where they are in terms of their path towards their goals. And after you move on from that, you'll be moving into their financial situation to see if they're actually broke and if they would actually be a good fit for the mentorship / course. And this is where you want to go deep, or else you're going to be wasting your time, the prospect's time, and everyone's time, and it'll just be a lose-lose on the call, and you'll just be wasting a lot of energy. So you do want to go deep here and to see if they would actually be a good fit or not. And after you find out if they're broke or not, you'll be moving on. But if they are broke, you usually just you don't end the call immediately, but you do want to kind of end the call and give them some good information for them to watch for free until they are actually financially qualified to move forward in the closing call. But after this point in the call, you're going to be figuring out if they even trust the brand or influencer in the first place. And this is very important and very crucial in the sales call, because if they've only just started watching the brand or influencer the same day as this call, you do want to make sure that they have a little bit of trust. That way they're able to actually move forward, and they won't be thinking that this is a scam after you figure out that they trust and believe in the mentorship to actually get them to where they want to go. And then after that, you'll be moving into the decision makers and the timeline of the entire process that they've already been through. And you got to find out if they're a cuck or not. Now, what that means is a lot of people don't want to make decisions for themselves. They want their wife or someone else to hold their hand and make the decision for them. And the reason for this is some people just don't take action in their life, and they pretty much have no balls anymore, and they need someone else to live life for them. Now, this is very rare, but some people are they're just lost and you can't really save them. And you just need to find out what their struggles are to actually see if they're able to actually make the decision for themselves to move forward and to change their life on their own without needing a wife or someone to hold their hand through the entire process. And then after you see that they're ready to make the decision and they're not a cuck, you're going to be moving on to their desired new reality that they're actually striving towards, but are struggling to get there on their own. And here you really want to get a very detailed description of this new reality and to get as much detail as possible so that way they can actually see it and believe that the influencer and brand can get them there. And you need to figure out what their desired outcome even is. So you kind of just have to give them a telescope to see into the future and see what they actually want. That way you can easily see what they want and where they are and bridge the gap with the brand and influencer to actually get them across the line. And then after that, you want to get their commitment level, and you usually just ask them a question like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed would you say you are to actually getting to this desired outcome? And usually they'll say around maybe 6 to 8, maybe sometimes 10. And if they do say 6 to 8, you just ask what's missing from that 2 or 4. That's basically what's missing from getting you to that 10, if that makes sense. So you need to find out if they even want to win in the first place and how committed they really are to bettering their life. And then after that, you want to find out the cost of inaction and the cost of them actually doing this on their own and not getting any help to get there in the first place. So the cost of inaction could be years wasted on doing this on their own, or it could cost them a lot of money if they don't get into this program or mentorship. And it could just be a very bad outcome if they kept doing this on their own. So you want to figure out what the cost of inaction would be. And it really depends on what offer you're on in terms of what outcome would happen if they kept doing this on their own. So this one is very dependent on which offer you're on, where the cost of no change would actually come into play. And after you go through all of this, you'll be moving into the transition and summary. So you kind of just summarize this whole call and then move into the pitch, whatever pitch you have for your offer, and basically just go over the deliverables that the offer is currently offering. And then after that, go through the temp check, see where they are, how they feel, and if they're ready to go to the next step. And then basically just close the deal and you've made your money. Now, usually the closer makes anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20%. It just really depends on what offer you're on and how close you are to the influencer. But that is pretty much the gist of everything. That's just a very brief overview of the entire process of how the setter works and how the closer works. Now, of course, it goes into a lot deeper detail, but I did just want to make this quick video so you can actually see how it all works and the whole process of each call. So if you do think that you could do this yourself, I am offering a few spots in my mentorship to actually get you on as a setter or a closer. It just really depends on where your sales skills are at the moment. So if you are interested in actually booking a call so I can see where you are in life and to see if this would be something that would work for you, you can book a call below in the description and I'll be able to help you out and to see if this would be a good fit for you. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of this. And I'll go into a more detailed overview of the entire thing once you're actually in my coaching program one-on-one, so I can kind of hold your hand through the entire process of getting you from nothing a month to 10K plus a month anywhere in the world. So with that being said, guys, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.